Only 20% of gangster rap tracks make it to mainstream playlists, and Top Rank Gang calls it success. When your claim to fame is out the whip, you know the industry's standards have truly hit a speed bump.
Paramount Plus revives Landman, and critics say it's even more bonkers than before. When your show's highlight is a teenage girl explaining oil fracking like it's a bedtime story, maybe it's time to check the scriptwriter's water supply.
TikTok and YouTube ban Abdulmonim Al-Rabia's accounts, yet his recruitment for Sudan's RSF militia continues. When your propaganda gets more views than a cat video, maybe it's time to rethink what influencer means in 2025.
Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield to pay $100 million claims it's a victory for transparency. When your settlement costs more than $100 million, maybe it's time to redefine what affordable care really means.
Susan vows Liberals will step on the gas to cut power prices while ignoring climate change's toll.
Only 20% of voters blame Democrats for shutdown, and the GOP calls it a win. When the party of fiscal responsibility shuts down the government, it's like a lifeguard who drowns to prove a point.
Peter Thiel sells Nvidia shares, then AI bubble talk balloons. When Thiel jumps ship, it's like rats fleeing a tech Titanic, except these rats have golden parachutes and a knack for timing.
Meta revamps Facebook Marketplace with AI, solves old problem. Translation: AI will now help you find slightly less sketchy deals on those used air fryers and questionable concert tickets.
Only 70% of tourists visit Porto, and they call it a hidden gem. Turns out, the secret to a beautiful city is just being slightly less crowded than the next Instagram hotspot.
UK government extends refugee wait to 20 years, calls it asylum reform. Apparently, compassion now comes with a 2-decade delay because nothing says welcome like a bureaucratic eternity.
Zelensky vows swift overhaul of energy firms, then hires same old cronies. In Ukraine, rapid reform translates to rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, while the iceberg gains seniority.
Portland-born songwriter Todd Snyder dies at 59, leaving behind a legacy of rebellious melodies. He sang for the misfits and the dreamers, reminding us that the real tragedy is a world that silences its poets.
Swedish police roll out segways for patrol, claiming it's the future of law enforcement. Because nothing says intimidating authority, like gliding past at a brisk walking pace, armed with a ticket book and a sense of balance.
Republicans slash food stamp funding by 20%, touting it as fiscal responsibility, because nothing screams family values like making sure families have less food on the table, all in the name of balancing the budget on empty plates.
China skips buying promised US soybeans, citing South America's bargain bonanza. Looks like Trump's trade deal is as solid as a soy latte in a rainstorm, full of froth but no beans.
Only 30% of kids with ADHD show stable brain disruption, and Big Pharma calls it a market opportunity. Once again, the solution isn't empathy or understanding, it's a prescription pad and a monthly bill.
Bootloader exploits WordPress with a font trick while cybersecurity firms sell peace of mind. Cybersecurity, where new threats are just opportunities to upsell the latest digital snake oil.
Top Republican claims Epstein files are Democrats' plot, while ignoring 20,000 documents. When conspiracy theories become the GOP's go-to defense, reality checkmate is just a footnote.
Only 10% of indie albums make a splash, but creativity beats cash every time. Leverage social media like a guerrilla campaign. Use platforms like TikTok to generate viral challenges, and collaborate with influencers who groove to your rhythm.
Trump rolls out the red carpet for Saudi Crown Prince, ignoring the shadow of Khashoggi's murder. Diplomacy, or a masterclass in selective amnesia? When human rights are less important than oil rights, the moral compass goes haywire.
Only 28 years old, Paralympic champion Paige Greco passes away, leaving behind a legacy of triumph over adversity. In a world where heroes defy odds, the brightest stars sometimes fade too soon, reminding us that courage has no age limit.
Germany cancels auction of Holocaust artifacts after backlash, then wonders why selling tragedies sparked outrage. Turning human suffering into souvenirs never goes out of style for some, but even the auctioneers had to admit defeat on this one.
French speed skater Timothy Lubineau sets a new world record in the 5,000 meters with 6 minutes and 23 seconds, then claims he's still slow when late for dinner. In a sport where milliseconds matter, even Van der Poel's friendship can't slow the French speedster down, unless there's a buffet involved.
NATO leaders issue statement on Ukraine, then announce a new meeting to discuss the statement's implications. As the invasion drags into its 1,360th day, NATO's strategy seems to be a marathon of meetings while Ukraine runs a decathlon of survival.
Ariana Grande fan charges stage, then claims it was a love sprint. In the grand tradition of fan obsession, this guy took rushing to meet your idol quite literally, proving once again that security isn't just a suggestion.
Stirling engine promises free power, then requires entire universe to function. In a classic case of sounds too good to be true, this engine needs the whole cosmos to keep your lights on. Who knew the secret to renewable energy was just a billion light years away?
Maine allows inmates to work remote jobs, calls it rehabilitation. Finally, a prison reform plan that lets inmates join the ranks of disgruntled remote workers everywhere. Who knew Zoom calls could be so liberating?
Trump demands Republicans block Epstein files, then calls it transparency. In the latest episode of Political Hypocrisy Theater, Trump's version of transparency involves keeping the public more in the dark than a blackout curtain in a panic room.
In the cutthroat world of Wall Street, 27% representation is like throwing a crumb to a starving crowd and calling it a feast.
Trump urges House Republicans to release Epstein files, reversing his previous stance. In a plot twist worthy of a soap opera, Trump now claims transparency is the best disinfectant, but only after the dirt's already spread.
Turkish Orthodox Church denounces Pope's visit to Turkey as political, not religious. Apparently, divine intervention is now a geopolitical chess match, with the Pope cast as the unwelcome foreign knight on Turkey's sacred board.
ICE seeks Washington tribes to house detained immigrants, outsourcing detention to those historically displaced. It's a twisted irony when the government asks the oppressed to imprison others, turning ancestral lands into holding cells for the American dream.
Crypto bros, it's time to admit your digital currency is as stable as a toddler on roller skates. Maybe next time try investing in something less volatile, like a cat on a caffeine high.
Only 30% of women report using self-pleasure for menopause symptoms, and the Kinsey Institute calls it progress. Guess the secret was in our own hands all along. Who knew that the ultimate relief from hot flashes might be a solo mission? Maybe it's time to rewrite the self-care manuals, forget the herbal teas, ladies, and embrace the buzz.
Trump promises affordability, but inflation hits a 50-year high. The man who vowed to make America rich again now finds himself in a financial funhouse where the only thing inflating faster than prices is his own rhetoric. Maybe he should try fixing the economy with one of those art of the deal handshakes.
In the grand tradition of British Stoicism, people are left sipping their tea while knee-deep in floodwaters, waiting for a weather forecast that's less day after tomorrow and more Downton Abbey. Perhaps next time they'll prepare by issuing galoshes with those stiff upper lips.
UN promises aid, yet Gaza's tents remain waterlogged and freezing.
Stockholm bus accident leaves multiple casualties, but authorities say transport remains safe. Apparently, getting flattened by a bus is just a minor hiccup in the otherwise safe transportation system. Sure, accidents happen, but when your morning commute ends in a hospital bed, you start to wonder if safe is just a word they throw around to keep us from asking inconvenient questions.
It's the ultimate irony when your war machine runs on second-hand duds. Russia's military might now resembles a garage sale, where even the bombs come with a no-returns policy. When your arsenal has more misfires than a B-movie villain, maybe it's time to rethink the whole global domination thing.
Wall Street banks seize VC ground with private market deals, claiming innovation while wearing suits. When Wall Street starts playing in the startup sandbox, expect a lot more gold-plated shovels and a lot less innovation. It's like watching your dad try to crash your college party, awkward, out of touch, and inevitably ending with someone crying over spilled IPOs.
Germany resumes weapons exports to Israel on November 24th, calling it a peacekeeping effort. When a country resumes sending weapons and calls it peacekeeping, it's like handing someone a flamethrower and telling them to keep warm. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a bayonet.
When they say it's for your safety, check your pockets and your rights.
The safest place for a government is behind closed doors, watching you through the keyhole.
Spotify ads The Same Old Tale The Crow Told Me by Johnny Horton claims it's a fresh discovery. Just like a crow's wisdom, the music industry keeps circling back to the same old songs, calling it innovation while we all hum along with deja vu.
ASET closes 71 schools over play sand health scare, calls it precautionary. Apparently the Sandman's got a dark side, and it turns out that playing nice with nature requires a little more than a sandbox and good intentions.
China issues travel warning for Japan, blames Japan's Taiwan intervention threats.
Tehran Symphony Orchestra, led by woman conductor, first time in its history. In a crescendo of courage, she shatters the glass ceiling with the baton, turning a patriarchal symphony into a feminist overture.
From sidekick to potential kingmaker, he's swapping the passenger seat for the driver's seat, navigating the tangled roads of political aspiration.
Rainn Wilson texts Justin Baldoni about Blake Lively lawsuit, calls it a setup. When Hollywood drama spills into text messages, you know the scriptwriters are losing their grip. Who needs reality TV when you've got actors staging their own courtroom theatrics?
Kansas releases The Wall in 1976, still not about border security. When your greatest hits are mistaken for political manifestos, it's time to question the state of discourse. Who knew progressive rock would be more relevant than Congress?
DKS Beats Cosmix Biopharma plans to distribute more than just chocolate. When Swiss companies start gobbling each other up like Toblerone bars, you know the pharmaceutical game is getting serious. Who needs neutrality when you have distribution power?
White House withdraws compensation plan for airline delays. Blames turbulence on Biden-era dreams. Why give travelers cash for delays when you can give them the joy of endless airport lounging?
Congressman Johnson accuses Democrats of using Epstein as a distraction, claims it's their entire game plan against Trump. When in doubt, blame the opposition for focusing on the unsavory truths you'd rather sweep under the gold-plated rug. A classic move from the deflection playbook.
Patients ditch doctors for AI advice, fed up with endless waits and sky-high bills. When the medical system's as tangled as a ball of yarn in a kitten's paws, even Siri starts looking like a savior in a lab coat.
Rep. Khanna declares shutdown final straw for Schumer, and the political blame game hits new lows. When the government plays Jenga with our lives, even the final straw is just another piece pulled from the tower of dysfunction.
VCs toss old rules for funky time investing in AI startups and expect a disco ball of debt. When venture capitalists start discoing with dollars, AI startups find themselves in a dance-off between innovation and insolvency.
When CEOs declare victory over tariffs, it's like saying the Titanic had a great maiden voyage, minus the iceberg, of course.
Apple sidelines the Mac Pro once more, shelving innovation for the shiny and portable. Apple's forgotten workhorse is like a once-loved toy left in the attic, waiting for someone to remember its magic.
Fluence drops R3 Fell 3CT Tier R original mix, promising innovation in 3 minutes and 42 seconds of auditory deja vu. In a world where every beat is a remix of a remix, originality is the unicorn we all chase but never catch.
Hungary sues EU over Russian gas ban and they call it defending sovereignty. When your energy policy is playing Russian roulette with a loaded pipeline, suing the EU sounds like a brilliant masterstroke.
Bangladesh court sentences Sheikh Hasina to death, a chilling twist in the saga of power and retribution.
Italy collects 352,000 signatures for permanent daylight saving time, claiming it brightens futures and saves energy. As Italy chases the sun, one wonders if the extra daylight will illuminate the dark corners of bureaucracy or just cast longer shadows.
U.S. stock futures rise slightly. Investors clutch their pearls awaiting Nvidia's earnings to save their portfolios from the Bitcoin blues. Wall Street's playing the waiting game with Nvidia, hoping for a tech messiah, while Bitcoin continues its existential crisis on the sidelines.
Four gunmen invade 669's Florida home, his mother held against her will because apparently crime still hasn't heard of a vacation. The rapper's life is a reality show where the plot twists are more absurd than his hair colors and the stakes are always criminally high.
Blue Origin lands 18-story rocket on floating platform, but it still can't land Jeff Bezos a seat on Mars. While Bezos dreams of interplanetary real estate, we're stuck on Earth watching billionaires play cosmic hopscotch with rockets bigger than our apartment buildings.
As the US plays geopolitical landlord, Greece finds itself stuck between a rock and a hard place, with China eyeing the lease and Trump's team holding the eviction papers.
Michelle Yeoh stuns at 63 in see-through bubble dress, proving age is just a number when you're defying gravity. While society clutches its pearls over a neckline, Yeoh's unapologetic elegance challenges the beauty standards that willfully ignore the magic of maturity.
G7 ambassadors applaud Zelensky's nod for corruption probe, then keep one eye on their own skeletons buried in diplomatic closets. It's a pageant of moral support, where the G7 waves its pom-poms for transparency abroad, while tiptoeing around the murk in their own backyards.
Only 32% of Americans approve how ICE operates, and the rest are busy learning escape routes for when the next ice storm hits. It's a chilling reminder that in the land of the free, some prefer their ice in drinks, not as a federal enforcement agency.
UK denies halting intelligence sharing with US on narco traffickers. Insists everyone is still besties despite that awkward silence at the last spy brunch. It's like claiming you're still BFFs with your ex while deleting their number and pretending you didn't see their texts.
Microsoft Ad features Copilot misidentifying Windows 11 setting, claims it's all good while the system silently weeps in the background. It's like asking your GPS for directions and ending up in the middle of a lake. But hey, at least you got a scenic route.
Voters reject data center expansions by AI companies, yet the tech giants dream of gilded server farms in every backyard. It's a bit like asking if you'd prefer a skyscraper or a forest, and the squirrels are voting for their homes.
Israel demands Trump tie F-35 jets to Saudi normalization, swapping stealth fighters for diplomatic dance moves. Because nothing says peace in the Middle East like a high-stakes game of military monopoly, complete with flying fortresses.
Floods flatten homes in Italy, then nature's wrath gets a real estate license. When the earth moves under your feet, it's not love. It's a reminder that climate change doesn't care about your mortgage.
Brussels acknowledges far-right surge, then acts like it just discovered fire in a burning forest. When extremism becomes the elephant in the room, maybe it's time to stop pretending you're just hosting a circus.
Amazon cuts 10,000 jobs, calls it business as usual while polishing their empathy badge. When layoffs are a routine, maybe it's time to redefine what business really means, besides human cost-cutting bingo.
British Columbia blocks Alberta's pipeline dreams. Premier calls it un-Canadian, as if patriotism is measured in barrels per day. When pipelines become the yardstick of nationalism, maybe it's time to rethink if the true north is still strong and free, or just oily.
Péter Magyar gains rural support in Hungarian election, leaving Orbán's urban strongholds sweating like a goulash in a heatwave. When the countryside turns against you, it's like your favorite paprika revolting and seasoning someone else's stew.
Reinforcement learning tackles Olympiad-level math, yet still struggles with proving 2 + 2 = 4 without a calculator. When AI needs a study buddy for basic arithmetic, maybe it's time to question if it's ready for the mathlete leagues.
When the UK's tax plan folds like a cheap suit and the Fed wavers, you know someone's playing fiscal roulette with a blindfold on.
Police report threats against Marjorie Taylor Greene, but some call it political theater. When your political shtick involves waving matches in a fireworks factory, don't act surprised when the heat gets real.
Indiana ejects MDYs from Medicaid, claiming better care awaits, because nothing says improved health care. Like booting a provider and crossing fingers, someone else will show up with a magic wand.
Urban raccoons evolve pet-like features, yet still raid trash cans. From bandits of the night to wannabe housemates, these critters are the ultimate con artists, stealing hearts and leftovers alike.
Hesper disables NRF2 gene, reversing lung cancer drug resistance. Science finally gives cancer a taste of its own medicine, proving once again that the smartest tool in the shed is a gene-editing scalpel.
UN reports Israeli war breaches Lebanon border, igniting diplomatic tensions. Because nothing says good neighbors like a wall creeping across your lawn, just waiting for the next international incident to unfold.
Global markets stagger under tech sell-off, while US trembles from historic shutdown. It's the economic equivalent of a bad hangover. Tech stocks are the tequila. China's economy is the questionable late-night taco, and the US shutdown is that friend who passed out on your couch, indefinitely.
Only 10% of Americans trust Congress, yet Chuck Grassley remains a senator. It's like letting the guy who can't find his glasses run the optometrist shop, results in a lot of squinting and misplaced blame.
Apparently demanding a future without cartels and corruption makes you the bad guy now, because nothing says progress like bruises and broken promises.
Only 36% of retirees consider downsizing, but your horse might have a different opinion. Trading in square footage for stable room could be the ultimate retirement plan.
Trump demands DOJ investigate Democrats but ignores his own Mar-a-Lago guest list. When justice is a magic trick, the hand you don't see might be holding the truth.
UK Treasury explores tax threshold changes, while borrowing costs rise after Reeves's income tax U-turn. When politicians gamble with taxes, the only sure bet is the house always wins, and by house I mean the ones on Downing Street.
Five plead guilty to aiding North Korean infiltration of US companies, proving the plot twist that reality is stranger than fiction. When your IT department includes a secretive regime, it's not just your servers that might get hacked, but your sense of security too.
Trump reverses decision on Epstein files release, swapping transparency for a convenient cloak of mystery.
EU drops mandatory chat scanning, but privacy advocates still feel like they're on a roller coaster without a safety bar. When the promise of privacy is a carrot on a string, it's hard to tell if you're being protected or just led in circles.
Kash Patel stirs chaos at FBI, then claims he's just cleaning house.
Special prosecutor tackles Trump's Georgia case, but future as clear as a mud puddle. It's like hiring a lifeguard for a desert swim meet, bold, symbolic, and ultimately a mirage of justice.
The Only Street in Paris, by Elaine Skilolina, defends the well-trodden charm of Rue des Martyrs on a city of clichés. This memoir tries to convince us that nostalgia is a fresh scent. Spoiler, it's ode de déjà vu.
Desmond Doom releases How to Make Shogaze in 2 minutes, claims it's the shortcut to sonic bliss. Because nothing says authentic artistry like compressing existential angst into a fast food tutorial. Next up, how to sell out in 5 easy steps.
Only 10% of Stereogum's best new artists become stars. and the rest join a graveyard of forgotten Spotify playlists. The annual ritual of anointing future icons, where hype meets hope and yesterday's indie darlings become tomorrow's trivia answers.
Russia plans to launch a new messaging app. Claims it's not a Telegram clone while it looks suspiciously like a Telegram clone.
When your military exercise turns into an accidental reenactment of Battleship, you know someone's getting a sternly worded memo. Just another day in international diplomacy.
Only 30% of aspiring producers succeed, and Apple calls it inspiration. When your cousin's beats sound like a blender on the fritz, it's time to remind him that sometimes school is the real headliner. Dreams are cute, but rent's a diva.
Putin's Ukraine campaign flounders, while Stubb compares it to Stalin's Dubyu-Dub triumph. When your military strategy looks like a toddler trying to solve a Rubik's Cube, maybe it's time to rethink your playbook. History lessons shouldn't be this painful.
Campaign to move penguins trapped in basement, while Bad Bunny wins big at Latin Grammys. When penguins are getting more basement time than your favorite indie band, maybe it's time to rethink your architectural priorities, folks.
U.S. Catholic bishops condemn Trump's immigration crackdown.
Only 100 people join Discord server, and the creator calls it a revolution. With numbers like that, it's less a revolution and more a cozy campfire sing-along. But hey, every cult has to start somewhere, right?
Washington resident contracts new bird flu strain. Health officials recommend more hand sanitizer. Because if there's one thing humanity's learned, it's that a little alcohol rub is the ultimate shield against nature's relentless attempts to cull the herd. Cheers to our sticky, sanitized survival.
SNL mocks AI anxiety, casting robots as dishwashers, and grandma isn't impressed. Because nothing says cutting-edge comedy like AI panic and a mechanical rinse cycle, proving once again that even our satire is stuck in a spin cycle of existential dread and domestic chores.
AI resurrects famous dead voices, calls it innovation, because nothing screams progress like turning the graveyard into a soundstage where the dearly departed can now endorse products they never used in life. Welcome to the future, where not even death can silence capitalism's relentless sales pitch.
Chancellor Reeves's tax hike plan town tumbles. Looks like the UK economy's got a new dance move, the fiscal limbo. How low can it go? Apparently, as low as the credibility of a politician's promise to tax the rich. Investors are watching like it's a reality show, but the only prize here is higher borrowing costs.
Only 30% of Americans know Venezuela's size, while some pundits plan a quick invasion. In the grand tradition of underestimating countries, some folks think Venezuela is a bite-sized snack for regime change. But surprise, it's more like a full-course geopolitical meal that could leave you choking on hubris. It's not just a small Latin American country, it's a big, complicated mess.
U.S. universities report 50% drop in international enrollments. Call it a strategic pivot. Looks like American universities are trying out a new experiment. How to survive on ramen and nostalgia without international students paying full tuition. A strategic pivot or just a nosedive into academic austerity?
U.S. Marines face charges for Haditha massacre years late, justice delayed. In a plot twist straight out of a war crime noir, 2 Marines are finally implicated in a family's death, proving that justice in military time is as slow as a camel in a sandstorm.
Finnish president predicts no Ukraine ceasefire until spring, blames winter for diplomacy's seasonal affective disorder. Apparently, peace talks have joined bears in hibernation, while European allies are left to shovel through the snow of corruption scandals to find their moral compass.
Olivia Rodrigo denounces DHS for using her song, calling it racist, hateful propaganda in a key change nobody asked for. Looks like DHS tried to remix teenage angst into a national anthem for intolerance. But Olivia is not about to let her lyrics become the soundtrack for state-sanctioned bigotry.
Holiday party gadgets like Ninja, HP, Sprocket, and Cricket promise effortless fun, yet deliver a DIY disaster in high-tech packaging.
Turnbull accuses coalition of fact-free climate culture war, then governments shovel billions into uneconomic gas plant. When reality takes a backseat to politics, taxpayers foot the bill for a fossil-fueled fantasy.
When justice is buried underground, truth is just another prisoner. Meanwhile, the world watches with selective blindness and averted gaze.
When the stock market's crystal ball is Nvidia and jobs, you know we've hit economic tarot card territory. Investors are holding their breath, hoping for a magical reveal.
Reddit user loose preference 430 shares Dungeon Family's TransDF Express and it gets buried in comments. When hip-hop classics get less love than a cat meme, it's clear the algorithm gods are more into fluff than funk. Music history deserves better than a digital shrug.
When election predictions are less reliable than a weather forecast in a rainstorm, you know democracy's crystal ball needs a serious upgrade. Maybe next they'll predict the sun rising in the west.
Bryan Adams releases Be the Reason in 2025, claims it's fresh. When a rocker's new single feels like a time capsule from 1985. It's clear some legends never met a sound they couldn't repeat. Nostalgia's a hell of a drug.
Because nothing screams safety like pulling the brakes on the livelihoods of thousands who keep the wheels turning. Who needs a functioning economy, right?
Ukrainian drones halt oil exports, claim a strategic win over fossil fuel dependency. In a world where war meets eco-activism, maybe drones will do what climate summits can't, force a rethink of our oily obsessions.
Russian attack kills 4 in Kyiv, as peace remains an elusive fantasy. With each missile, the promise of diplomacy shatters like glass, leaving only the fragments of what could have been a kinder history.
Dayton Accords hit 30, Bosnia remains a geopolitical hamster wheel. 3 decades later, Bosnia's sovereignty is as elusive as a unicorn in a boardroom, with international oversight holding tighter than a toddler to its blanket.
EU studies cloud giants calls monopoly a rain dance. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google might soon find their cloud castles under siege as the EU sharpens its antitrust swords, ready to bring the thunder.
Only 20% of sports fans know Jack Johnson, and Chappelle calls it history's blind spot, while Muhammad Ali floats like a butterfly in the annals of greatness. Jack Johnson's legacy gets the Dave Chappelle treatment, a punchline with a sting of forgotten glory.
Scientists demand protection for fungi networks, yet governments prioritize mushroom risotto.
India detains Kashmir resident over Red Fort attack, but peace talks remain an illusion. With every high-profile arrest, the cycle of suspicion and repression continues, while genuine dialogue is treated like a mythical creature lurking in the bureaucratic shadows.
Billie Eilish slams pathetic Elon Musk as trillionaire status looms while inequality skyrockets. Eilish's critique highlights a world where the ultra-rich blast off to Mars, while the rest of us are left picking up the crumbs of their cosmic ambitions.
Only 10% of the world can afford Harry Potter, Forbidden Forest experience, and they call it magical. While the rest of us are spellbound by inflation, the privileged few dance through a fantasy forest, clutching their overpriced wands and sipping unicorn lattes.
BBC raises £7 million for children in need, claims running is harder than politics. While politicians jog away from their promises, Sarah Cox sprints towards the finish line, proving that endurance is for the selfless and the self-serving alike.
Bangladesh sentences Sheikh Hasina to death, demands India extradite her. In the ultimate game of political hot potato, Bangladesh tosses Hasina's fate to India, as if borders were just chalk lines to be redrawn at whim.
UCLA faculty defeats Trump's funding threats, secures First Amendment rights. Turns out, the Constitution isn't just a suggestion, even when your name is in gold letters on a hotel. Academic freedom, 1. Authoritarian overreach, 0.
Only 20% of financial experts agree on investments, and they all call it a diversified strategy. When 5 experts can't even align their crystal balls, that million rand might be safer under your mattress. At least dust mites don't charge management fees.
Only 5% of pop songs transcend formula, and yet every artist claims they're redefining the genre. In a world where alchemy turns to Spotify streams, maybe it's time we all admit that musical gold isn't made from auto-tune and algorithmic beats.
UK government unveils Troubles Bill, promising justice, but delivering more red tape. It's like offering a lifeline made of bureaucracy to families who've been treading water for almost 30 years. Justice delayed is justice denied, but hey, at least there's a new bill to blame.
Citi's Baldwin predicts December Fed cut, claiming labor is weak enough for it. Ah, the classic corporate dance. Let's celebrate weak labor markets with a stock market rally. Nothing says prosperity like profiting off the struggle of the working class.
Duke targets mail ballot grace periods, undermines early voting access. Because nothing says democracy like making it harder to vote, let's just call it what it is, a strategic retreat from the will of the people.
Jefferies analyst predicts Oracle stock could surge 80% banking on a major rebound. Oracle stock is like a phoenix, apparently ready to rise from the ashes of tech volatility. But remember, predictions are just financial horoscopes with better suits.
Iranian officials issue contradictory water warnings, leaving Tehran teetering on the brink of a crisis. In the land of Persian poetry, water scarcity is the latest tragic verse. But hey, why let a little dehydration stop the government from spinning a tale of confusion and chaos?
Has-been hotel character belts out the cover. Xiulan Long's lounge version makes losing sound like winning. When a demon sings the blues, you know you're in for a hell of a show. Xiulan Long's got the pipes to make your sins sound like a symphony.
Iran demands dignity and respect to rejoin US nuclear talks because apparently diplomacy is not a high school popularity contest. Maybe if the world leaders traded friendship bracelets instead of sanctions, we'd get somewhere. It's like Mean Girls, but with nuclear stakes.
U.S. Border Patrol, Seamdar, Greg Bovino backs Trump and GOP with campaign donations, because guarding borders apparently requires a political endorsement. Who knew protecting the nation came with a side of partisan politics? Seems like neutrality's been deported.
EQT billionaire Jean-Eric Salata challenges Wall Street with Asia expansion after losing hundreds of millions on Indian ventures. Nothing screams confidence like a password pep talk. Maybe Wall Street should try profit next time they log in.
Panthera finance owner claims it wasn't technically illegal in Victoria, despite scandalous operations and court allegations. When your defense hinges on technicalities, you might need more than a legal loophole to clean up your act.
CSIRO slashes up to 350 jobs, calls it necessary restructuring amidst growing climate crises. When the planet's burning, nothing says progress like a pink slip for the scientists trying to save it.
Ariana Grande fan arrested for grabbing actress, then claims it was a hug of admiration. In a world where boundaries are blurred by celebrity worship, nothing screams fandom like an unwanted embrace during a red carpet moment.
Only 10% of mascots survived the 90s,
and nostalgia calls it character building. When your job is to be a fuzzy beacon of joy, and you can't even survive the decade without becoming a meme.
Nigerian startups avoid local IPOs, citing the naira's fragility as a deterrent. When your currency is less stable than a Jenga tower at a toddler's birthday party, even the bravest entrepreneurs might opt for a safer sandbox.
When the tech glitter blinds you to the very real potholes on the road, maybe it's time to swap those rose-tinted glasses for a reality check.
Saab secures billion-dollar Gripen deal with Colombia, boosting defense budgets while schools crumble. When fighter jets get the gold star and classrooms get the crumbs, it's clear someone's priorities flew the coop.
Croatian Vesnik Tower, housing state archives, erupts in flames, leaving history literally up in smoke. When your archives go up in flames, maybe it's time to archive your fire safety budget. History deserves better than a bonfire.
France abandons demand for UK advance payment in Brexit food talks, hopes goodwill can substitute for cold hard cash.
City Index claims AI market behaves rationally, ignoring that human emotion runs Wall Street's puppet strings. In the theater of finance, rational is just the costume chaos wears when it wants to look respectable.
Only 25% of women report non-consensual choking during sex, and society calls it a kink instead of assault. When did pleasure become a euphemism for power trips disguised as passion, leaving trauma as the bitter aftertaste?
Blue Origin lands 18-story rocket on floating platform, calls it progress while climate change browns the coastlines. In a world where sea levels rise, billionaires still reach for the stars, leaving us to sink or swim.
Only 25% of European regions increase productivity, and the EU calls it a success. When productivity becomes a buzzword, citizens get lost in the static.
Only 30% of wedding songs break the mold, and Grace Weber's track shatters expectations. In a world where love songs often sound like recycled Hallmark cards, Weber's voice is a revolution wrapped in a melody, shaking up the aisle.
Indiana rejects Trump, France, and Gov. Braun's pressure keeps redistricting vote off the table. When the political circus comes to town, sometimes the ringmaster's tricks fall flat, leaving the clown scrambling for relevance.
Russia's oil income plummets again, thanks to Ukrainian strikes and Western sanctions. When your economic strategy is a house of cards built on oil, a little wind from the east and west can bring it crashing down.
Jaguar Land Rover loses over $220 million to cyber attack, calls it a learning experience. When luxury vehicles get hacked, even the leather seats can't cushion the financial blow. Guess their cybersecurity was running on fumes.
Bangladesh's tribunal sentences former PM Sheikh Hasina to death, and court cheers echo hypocrisy. When justice sounds like a football match, the laws become a spectator sport. Death sentences aren't supposed to come with a side of applause.
Berlin and Paris ditch joint fighter jet, pivot to air combat cloud and call it innovation. When you can't agree on a plane, just pretend Wi-Fi is the next great defense strategy. Welcome to Cloud Warfare, brought to you by Indecision.
When your travel highlight is more elusive than Bigfoot, maybe it's time to rethink the marketing strategy. Cyprus, where even the brochures play hard to get.
UK Health Ministry reports a 17% rise in superbug deaths, calls it a wake-up call for the living. Seems like the antibiotics are taking a vacation, and the superbugs are throwing a deadly party.
Chinese government urges citizens to avoid Japan, then blames Tokyo for their holiday plans gone sour. When an island argument turns into a diplomatic staycation, you know someone's taking international relations way too personally. Playing politics with passports? Classic.
Rondodox exploits unpatched XWiki servers, then welcomes devices into its botnet like it's a summer camp for malware. When your server security is as flimsy as a cardboard firewall, expect a digital infestation to move in rent-free. Bad guys love free real estate.
Only 20% of humans believe immortality is possible by 2030, and Silicon Valley calls it the ultimate subscription model. Imagine living forever, but still needing to update your operating system every week. Immortality, because who doesn't want eternal life with constant software bugs?
Amazon reveals zero-day flaws in Cisco ISE and Citrix NetSpreader, then sells us more cloud security. It's like selling your fire extinguisher after torching your house, but hey, at least their Prime delivery is on point. Your security breach arrives just as fast.
RFK Jr. allegedly used psychedelics and wanted Olivia Newsey to have his baby, her memoir claims. Because nothing screams responsibility like flossing with a DOP kit full of prescriptions and whispering sweet nothings in your lover's ear about expanding the Kennedy legacy.
French-Belgian Customs unveiled a custom Renault 4L, calls it innovation. Because if there's one thing that screams cutting-edge border security, it's a retro car that looks ready to smuggle croissants and Tintin comics rather than stop contraband.
US Federal Reserve dashes rate cut hopes. Gold tumbles for third straight day. The only thing falling faster than gold is the illusion that central banks will ever stop playing the world's most expensive game of keep away with economic stability.
Louvre security flummoxed as Belgian pranksters hang art near Mona Lisa, proving art hests aren't just for Hollywood. Looks like the Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile just got an upgrade. A front row seat to the Louvre's latest security blooper reel. Who knew Belgian humor was the real masterstroke?
USDA head mandates reapplication for all SNAP recipients, ensuring hunger meets bureaucracy head-on. Because nothing says we care about the hungry like a mountainous stack of paperwork and an extra helping of red tape. Guess food insecurity needed a side of Kafkaesque absurdity.
Eurostat reports Europe's electricity prices skyrocket, leaving some countries paying triple, but leaders suggest wool socks as a viable solution. When your utility bill outshines your Christmas lights and the government's best advice is to layer up and hope for a mild winter, who knew austerity could be so electrifying?
USAA
ID shutdown leaves 50 million without aid, then claims it's a temporary glitch. When your humanitarian lifeline snaps, and the powers that be call it a sick-up, you know compassion's been outsourced to a black hole. The cracks aren't just in the system, they're in the soul of aid itself.
Icelandic faces extinction by AI in English media, while 350,000 speakers are urged to resist. When AI's multilingual tongue threatens to swallow a millennium of culture, maybe it's time to teach your algorithms some respect for history. The battle for language is a fight for identity in a world that wants everything homogenized and prepackaged.
Crypto's riskiest coins dive to pandemic lows, proving digital gold can still turn to fool's gold. When the digital dream crashes harder than a toddler on a sugar high, maybe the next time someone says invest, you should ask if they mean in reality or in a pipe dream wrapped in ones and zeros. The crypto playground is a roller coaster where the tracks are made of sand.
Amtrak boosts ticket sales by 22%, branding it the eco-friendly way to delay your arrival. When the land of the free decides that trains are the future, you know we've reached peak irony. It's like trading your Tesla for a horse and buggy, because hey, it's vintage and slightly less likely to explode. The tracks may be rusty, but at least the delays are nostalgic.
Trump's Republican Party denies affordability crisis, then loses 3 key elections. In a world where rent costs more than a soul and bread's as pricey as a guilty conscience, claiming there's no affordability crisis is like telling a drowning man he's just going for a swim. But hey, when reality doesn't match the narrative, just dismiss the losses as fake news.
Lawyers for Fed governor accuse Trump administration of cherry-picking facts, then spotlight their own selective memory. When justice is a buffet, everyone grabs what suits their appetite. In this case, the Trump administration serves up a platter of half-truths, while Lisa Cook's defense counters with a side of convenient forgetfulness. It's a courtroom potluck where truth is the missing dish.
Walmart CEO Doug McMillon announces record profits, then pays employees starvation wages. Walmart's empire thrives on low prices and lower standards. McMillon's magic trick? Turning full-time jobs into poverty line performances while the boardroom toasts with champagne. It's capitalism's cruelest circus where the ringmaster always wins.
Apple CEO Tim Cook plans to step down, and the stock market prays for a miracle. The tech world holds its breath as Cook considers his exit strategy, but let's be honest, even if he leaves, Apple's innovations will probably still be a new shade of iPhone beige. Remember, under the shiny veneer, it's just a fruit with a bite taken out.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene claims Trump's remarks endangered her life, while irony packs its bags for a long vacation. The political tango where everyone steps on each other's toes. Greene, who often dabbles in conspiracy theories, now finds herself tangled in a real-life drama.
ICE agent arrested after pulling gun on teen, proving once again that the Wild West never really left Southern California. When your job is supposed to be about border control, but you end up starring in your own misguided action flick, maybe it's time to rethink career choices. Someone needs to remind these agents that the I in ICE doesn't stand for intimidation.
Startup Iambic raises $100 million for AI cancer drug trials, betting big on silicon saviors, while humans still argue over universal healthcare. In a world where algorithms might soon outsmart your oncologist, it's ironic that the real miracle cure would be just making sure everyone can afford a doctor's visit. But hey, at least the robots will have jobs.
Tom Cruise finally wins his first Oscar after generating £9.2 billion at the box office. Proving persistence beats perfection in Hollywood. After decades of death-defying stunts and dazzling smiles, it seems the Academy finally noticed Cruise's real mission was impossible. Getting a little golden statue without first overhauling global box office economics.
Trump attempts to rewrite the Epstein narrative, hoping a sleight of hand will distract from a history of dubious friendships. In a world where reality is just a suggestion, Trump's latest trick seems aimed at transforming a scandalous past into an alternate universe where truth is as negotiable as his tax returns.
Trump lawyer serves up unsettling defense of Epstein, claiming he's not a pedophile in a masterclass of legal gymnastics. When your defense strategy sounds like a horror movie tagline, it might be time to reconsider the script. But hey, in Trump world, reality is a choose-your-own-adventure, and Epstein's chapter is a twisted tale of semantics over substance.
Only 3% of music lovers celebrate album release anniversaries, and vinyl sales call it a comeback. Let's spin the wheel of music nostalgia, folks. November 17th is a treasure trove of soundtracks to your life's awkward dance moments and teenage rebellion phases. From the classic riffs to the beats that made you question your parents' taste, these albums are the time capsules that keep on giving.
Chinese Coast Guard vessels sail through Japan-administered Senkaku Islands. Call it a lawful patrol. It's a classic maritime tango, folks. China's playing the "these are our waters" card, while Japan raises eyebrows and diplomatic complaints. With each side claiming the high seas moral high ground, it's less about navigation and more about a game of geopolitical chicken.
Bitcoin falls nearly 30% from 2025 peak, and crypto enthusiasts call it a buying opportunity. Ah, the crypto roller coaster. 1 minute you're a digital titan, the next you're plummeting faster than a meme stock in a bear market. But fear not, Bitcoin evangelists are already dusting off their buy the dip t-shirts, because who needs stability when you have volatility as a lifestyle choice?
AI creates first 100 billion star Milky Way simulation, and humans still think they're the smartest species. While AI is busy simulating galaxies, humanity's greatest minds are still trying to decide if pineapple belongs on pizza. Meanwhile, the machines are playing cosmic architect, quietly reminding us that our place in the universe might just be as tiny as our attention spans.
Only 5% of music streams pay artists fairly, and the industry calls it progress. While you dance to the beats of La Voix La Soleil, the real rhythm is the one where artists get pennies while the streaming platforms drum up billions. Remember, with every play, the music industry's fat cats are the ones waltzing all the way to the bank.
Hawaii lawmakers reject same-day voting. Call mail ballots the future. In a twist of irony, the Hawaiian Sun sets on the idea of in-person voting, with ballots now surfing the postal waves. It's democracy by delivery, where your voting booth is as close as your mailbox, and every election is a mail-in rebellion against the old guard.
In the grand game of estate management, your son's navigating the labyrinth of posthumous paperwork like a somber Indiana Jones. But beware the fiscal pitfalls and legal booby traps. Using dad's bank account for funeral expenses might just be the first of many tests on this executor's odyssey.
Only 20% of coffee farmers understand crop science.
When hedge funds start turning down cash like it's a bad date, you know the financial world is a topsy-turvy land.
Operation Endgame dismantles Radamanthus, Venomrat, and Elysium botnet, celebrates global crackdown victory. It's not every day you see a cyber sweep named like a rejected Marvel script. Let's hope they didn't leave any sequel bait for the hackers to reboot with a vengeance.
Only 11% of peace talks progress, and Putin calls it negotiation. At this rate, peace will arrive just in time for the 25th century. It's like watching a snail race, but with fewer chances of a photo finish.
Amazon Prime releases 23 best shows list, calls it user-friendly. Because nothing screams accessibility like an endless scroll through digital chaos. Amazon's menus are the IKEA of streaming. Assemble your own entertainment experience, but don't lose your sanity in the process.
Israel refuses entry to Gaza aid, calls it security. In the twisted logic of geopolitics, protecting borders means leaving children to drown in their own misery. Winter rains may cleanse the earth, but they expose the cold indifference of those who control the gates.
Federal Reserve warns of job risks, advises patience. When the Fed whispers about neutral rates, it's a lullaby to lull you into thinking they're on top of it. Meanwhile, job seekers might want to start brushing up on their survival skills. Only 50% of the Netherlands was underwater, and nature called it a lesson in humility. In 1421, the sea reminded us that dikes are only as strong as our attention spans. 10,000 lives later, we still flirt with disaster by ignoring climate change.
Michael Stipe names supergroup Howl Howl Owl Owl because naming things is harder than it looks. When in doubt, just double down on the animal noises. It's like they tossed a Scrabble board and called it art. Maybe the real superpower here is Stipe's ability to make even the most absurd sound profound.
Jazz musician Ed Partika covers Kelek Stoften, proving even Charlie Parker's titles compete in the Olympic gymnastics of pronunciation. It's a mouthful that sounds like a jazz solo all on its own. You'd think Parker was trying to keep our tongues as nimble as his sax solos. Either that, or it's the jazz world's password to a secret club.
Pharma giant claims new CBD pill eases pain, but forgets to mention it costs more than a luxury spa day. Funny how a natural plant becomes a pricey pill when big pharma gets involved. Next, they'll sell sunlight in bottles and call it a breakthrough.
Trump dismisses Epstein survivors' pleas before House vote, calls it a distraction. When survivors speak, it's a distraction. When billionaires speak, it's policy. This administration's empathy is as vacant as a billionaire's private island.
Scientists track individual monarch butterflies from Ontario to Mexico. Imagine if we tracked politicians with the same precision. We'd finally know where all their promises migrate to every election season.
Snowstorm kills 5 tourists in Chile's Torres del Paine. Adventure turned tragedy. When nature delivers a harsh reminder that the thrill of the wild isn't just a hashtag, but a force that doesn't forgive selfies.
Global banks print trillions more in 2025, call it stability. When your financial security is as genuine as monopoly money and inflation's just the price of playing pretend in the world's biggest casino.
Tech giants ditch beloved brands after 6 failures, call it innovation. When innovation means slapping a new logo on the same old dysfunction, and your favorite gadget becomes the ghost of tech past haunting the present.
California storm claims 7 lives, media calls it weather. When the heavens cry buckets, and California's infrastructure collapses like a B-movie set, the press shrugs and calls it just another wet day in paradise.
Only 2% of Spotify listeners stream avant-garde rap, and mainstream labels call it niche. When Oz the Reaper drops beats that make your nose bleed, the industry writes it off as a genre for the musically masochistic.
Only 12% of spaceports track unauthorized ships, and the Federation calls it a security strategy. Akko's heart races at the thought of adding a tremulous pin to his collection. But in a galaxy of bureaucracy, ambition is often a one-way ticket to nowhere.
Banking regulator claims existing EU crypto rules handle stablecoin risk, then crypto markets crash in chaos. If crypto were a roller coaster, it just threw the passengers out and called it a thrilling experience.
Now Yosemite 3 conjures 75.5 million global win, while Running Man trips over a paltry $28 million. Looks like magic tricks outpaced running shoes. Maybe Running Man should have vanished before the reviews hit.
The Australian artist drops Bruja Sangrienta, blending hip-hop, rap, reggaeton, and indie, while the music industry still pretends it knows what genre means. When witches start dropping beats, you know the spell's real. Maybe it's time for labels to summon some creativity.
Looks like cows are busy multitasking, but the only thing beef lovers are chewing on is the bitter taste of inflation.
Redditor Rujinanis shares Coco Taylor's Wang Dang Doodle Live from Chicago, reigniting the blues fire from March 1st, 1987. Coco Taylor's voice is a blues howl that could shatter glass and shake the soul, reminding us that some queens don't need crowns, just a mic.
Hungary holds EU's highest key interest rate for 14th month and calls it inflation control. It's like watching a tightrope walker who insists the wind is their best friend as they sway dangerously over economic chaos.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene breaks with Trump, supports Democrats' initiative. Once Trump's loudest cheerleader, Greene now swings her pom-poms for the other team, proving loyalty is just another disposable accessory in Washington's fashion show.
South Korea partners with UAE on Stargate AI, promises global tech utopia. In a world where tech alliances sound like sci-fi plotlines, South Korea and the UAE are writing their own episode of AI Wars.
S&P 500 inches up before Nvidia's results, anticipates data storm. Like a cat on a hot tin roof, Wall Street teeters between hope and despair, holding its breath for Nvidia's AI magic and economic crystal balls.
Texas GOP erases Buddy Holly crosswalk, labels LGBTQ plus art as threat. When even Buddy Holly's legacy isn't safe from the rainbow eraser, you know the crusade against love has officially jumped the shark.
When pasta starts masquerading as wontons, it's either a culinary crossover or a crossword creator's fever dream. What's next, lasagna spring rolls?
Rapper arrested on drug charges hours after Grammy nod, proving irony's alive and well. Nothing says thanks for the nomination like a pair of handcuffs. Maybe the next hit single will be recorded from a cell block.
Trump's tariffs cost billions, but tracking them may bankrupt you first. It's the art of the deal. Pay through the nose, then pay again to figure out how much you just paid.
Meta appoints new leaders for revenue, but shareholders still see red. It's the corporate equivalent of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, hoping AI will keep the ship afloat while the iceberg looms.
A sleek reminder that even law enforcement once had style, back when police cars looked like they could outrun the criminals they chased.
Small business owners claim AI boosts profits, then spend savings on consultants to understand it. In the grand tradition of buying a GPS to find your way out of a paper bag.
Samsung users discover Israeli app cloud is unremovable, calling it a feature, not a bug. Freedom of choice, now with a side of international intrigue and a sprinkle of corporate gaslighting.
Romania evacuates Danube residents after Russian drone strike ignites Ukrainian LPG vessel, proving yet again that war loves collateral damage. When your neighbor's fire becomes your problem, it's clear international diplomacy needs a better extinguisher.
Greg Abbott labels major Muslim American group a terrorist organization.
When breaches of understanding
Nicki Minaj urges Barbie's fanbase for unity.
Massachusetts millionaire tax leaves the rich unmoved, proving that taxing the elite isn't the apocalypse they claim. Turns out, fleeing is tougher when your golden parachute is tied to a yacht docked in Boston Harbor.
Only 30% of Polish students attend new health classes, and conservatives call it a victory.
Palestinians convert Gaza ruins into skate park, finding joy amidst devastation. When life gives you rubble, make a half pipe, because sometimes joy is the ultimate act of rebellion.
Geeks like Putin's oil slick is drying up. When your war funding relies on a barrel that's half empty, it's time to rethink your strategy.
Three peregrine falcons launched from Melbourne skyscraper pulled off dramatic crash landing. Even nature's top-tier predators have a rough takeoff. These chicks might need a few more flying lessons before they start collecting air miles.
ASML's CEO Christophe Fouquet discusses AI impact, praises Dutch politics neutrality. In a world tangled in geopolitical tech wars, Fouquet's diplomacy is as Dutch as tulips and windmills, calm, neutral, and possibly too idyllic for this digital battlefield.
Judge blocks new gerrymandered Texas map, California's proud, 50 still untouched. While Texas grapples with its Democratic doodles, California's prop, 50 sits serenely, like a cat that knows it's not dinner time yet. The map wars continue, but some states just nap.
Google's DeepMind tool forecasts hurricanes faster, promises less expense. DeepMind's meteorological magic trick makes hurricanes seem like a minor inconvenience, as if the Atlantic's temper tantrums are just weather apps needing updates. Meanwhile, coastal dwellers keep their eyes on the real storm.
Militias demand a new coastal state, hope for peace through fragmentation. As if the Middle East needed more lines in the sand, these militias think a fresh coastal cutout will somehow bring serenity, because nothing says stability like a patchwork of micronations with a side of geopolitical tension.
Flydubai inks deal for 150 A321neo aircraft, yet skies stay crowded with climate promises. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's another airline promising growth while the planet swelters. As carbon emissions climb higher than your frequent flyer miles, remember that the only thing flying faster than these new jets is the hot air in their green pledges.
Nations at COP30 urged to cancel fossil fuel concessions, yet delegates still arrive in private jets. It's the ultimate climate conundrum, save the earth or save face. As leaders pontificate over the need to curb emissions, they seem to forget that the only thing burning faster than fossil fuels is their credibility. Who knew irony could have a carbon footprint?
Trump dodged Epstein questions 4 times, each evasion louder than a bullhorn. When it comes to the art of deflection, Trump could teach a masterclass. The choreography of denial is a skill honed over decades, and when the questions get uncomfortable, his body language does the talking. It's like a silent movie where the plot is scandal, and the subtitles read, "Nothing to see here, folks."
Trump officials deported a trans woman despite a court order defying the rule of law. In the Trump administration's twisted game of legal dodgeball, human rights are the balls they're playing with. This deportation isn't just a bureaucratic blunder. It's a deliberate slap in the face of justice, compassion, and the very idea that court orders mean anything when power's at play.
Fossil CO2 emissions rise despite Paris Agreement reaching 423 ppm in 2024. While we are drowning in promises of a greener future, our carbon sinks are gasping for air. This isn't just a failure of policy, it's a full-blown betrayal of the planet. It's like we signed a pact to save the world and then lit the contract on fire.
Canva launches at $12.99 a month solves nothing for pro designers. Canva's like giving a kazoo to an aspiring Mozart. It makes noise but don't expect a symphony. Sure, it's great for DIY enthusiasts, but for the pros, it's just another glorified clip art factory dressed up with slick marketing.
Like a fire brigade with only one hose, COVAX sprayed 1 billion doses across the globe, but left the flames of inequality burning bright. While some nations hoarded vaccines like toilet paper, others were left with scraps, proving once again that in the race for health, the richest set the pace.
Judge rules license plate data public. Cities panic. Washington state cities are scrambling like cats on a hot tin roof after a judge declared that their precious license plate camera data isn't as private as they'd hoped. It turns out Big Brother doesn't like sharing his toys, and now the cities are left wondering if their surveillance state dreams are about to become an open book.
Congress passes Epstein files release, Trump to decide. With the Epstein files dancing on the edge of daylight, Congress is tossing accountability like a hot potato over to President Trump. One can only wonder if these documents will see the light of day or vanish faster than a campaign promise after Election Day.
S&P 500 considers adding tech stock meets elephant-size hurdle. Seems like the S&P 500's got a tech crush, but it's stuck in a love triangle with an elephant squatting in the small cap 600. It's like trying to fit a megabyte dream into a kilobyte reality.